Good morning, Happy Valley, and welcome back to another edition of Penn State 365 podcast. I'm your host, Richie O'Leary, and joined as always by my co-host, Dylan Callahan-Crawley. Dylan, we're going to try something new this time around. We're going to try to do this every couple weeks. It's going to be like a State of the Union type thing for Penn State recruiting. Obviously, we're going to do it the 2025 class because it is the 2025 recruiting cycle.
Yep.
So let's just jump right into it. Penn State is currently ranked number 8 in the team rankings, number 3 in the Big Ten Conference behind, I think it was USC and Ohio State, or vice versa, I should say. Ohio State, and then USC, then Penn State. And also number 8 in the country with 12 commitments.
Yep.
What kind of just stands out about this class so far?
I think you obviously have to note the 3 running back commitments. You don't often see 3 in one class, and Penn State not only has 3, but they have 3 really high upside guys in this class right now. In Alvin Henderson, who committed this April on April 11th, and they also have Tyke Hayes out of Aliquippa, and then Keandre Barker down in Miami Central. And Barker, went from a 4-star to a 3-star, but I think that's just solely because he didn't get to play last year. Once he plays again this fall, I think, and if he posts numbers, he should regain that 4th star pretty quickly. And Penn State continues to stack that running back room. I think, obviously really nice linebacker class already. Deshaun Burnett, Alex Tash, DJ McClary. They have 3 offensive linemen as well. They're Michael Troutman, Brady O'Hara, and Owen Alciene. So they're really filling out well at running back, linebacker, and wide receiver. Running back, offensive line, and linebacker. But they still will have to obviously add on to quite a few places. Only 1 wide receiver commit. I think they take probably 4 in this class, so we're still looking at 3 more there. Only 1 defensive back commitment, no defensive line commitment so far. So, it's a good class, but there's still a lot of work to be done there at wide receiver, the defensive line, but also in that secondary, just 1 secondary commitment so far in Xavier Thomas. But I think they're positioning themselves well to put together a pretty good class overall here heading into May, which really starts off official visit season for Penn State at the end of the month. But overall, 12 commitments in, top 10 recruiting class. I think Penn State fans should be happy about what they like, about what the Nittany Lions have so far. And there's, I think they're going to continue to add on here in the next couple of months.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Going back to the running back thing, 1, 2, 3 committed. And a position like that where there's only 1, for the most part, only 1 of them on the field at the same time. Do you think they're all solidly committed? I know there's been talk like in the past about Keandre Barker because he was far away, but now he's connected with the quarterback commit too, and Beckham Kritzer down in Miami.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one because I think Hayes is most definitely solid. I think Barker is solid. Henderson seems pretty solid. But when you're talking about guys like Henderson and Barker, just anytime you recruit these kids from the South, it's going to be a battle to hang on to their commitment. Beckham Kritzer does seem solidified right now in his commitment. I don't think there's much to worry about that. But with Henderson and Barker, I do think they're solid right now. But with Florida kids, it feels like those things can change, at any given moment. I mean, you think about back to the 2023 recruiting class, Penn State, picked up a commitment late in the cycle from who was it? Wasn't late in the cycle, but they picked up. I think it was Elliot Washington at the time who they had command. There's a lot of rumors
that was July,
about,
I believe.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors of that Elliot Washington could end up, going elsewhere. But instead, it was actually, let's see here, going to Florida State's classes. Way too many kids ago to think about. Was it not 2013? Was it last year? Oh, okay. I'm making myself look like an idiot here. But,
No,
I'm blanking on the name now. But a couple classes ago, Penn State had, two kids from Florida committed. And one of them they got to sign at the last. Oh, it was King Mack
and Conrad Hussey.
and Conrad Hussey. Yeah,
that was 2023. You're right.
Yeah, it was 2023. King Mack, Conrad Hussey. King Mack was the one where everybody was wondering if he was going to be able to hold. They were going to hold on to that commitment, but it was Conrad Hussey at the end who was committed to them since April of that year, who flipped right before
signing day, right?
Signing day. It flipped on signing day, I think it was, to Florida State. So I mean, you never know with these Florida kids or kids from the South in general.
Yeah. And you mentioned Beckham Kritza. I know they did pursue another quarterback in Matt Zollers. It sounds like they're still pursuing him, which is a little interesting. But as of right now, you think this is a one quarterback class or a two quarterback class? Because I know they visited his school, I want to say 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they were out there a week ago. They're going to continue to recruit him until, pen meets paper in December, and he's signed with Missouri, Penn State, or perhaps his third school. But until Penn meets paper and he signs to a university, Penn State's going to continue to recruit him, I think.
Okay.
But outside of him, I think it's a one quarterback class.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Wide receiver. We keep hearing about how there's guys that are projected to go to Penn State as a wide receiver. I know we currently have a future cast for Lex Cyrus. We had one previously for Jeff Exiner. Do we just expect them to go with 3 bodies this one? And do we still expect Cyrus to kind of jump on board?
So I think 4 is probably more likely at wide receiver this cycle. 3 at the very least. 4 I think is likely. I still think they sit in a good spot with Cyrus. With Jeff Exiner, I know a few of us did flip our future cast to Virginia Tech. That being said, I am not ruling out Penn State in that recruitment just yet. I think there's a quality chance for Penn State to continue to flip momentum back to their side, especially the further away we get from his official visit to Virginia Tech, which happened this month. I just think Penn State's one of those schools you really never want to give more time to recruit a player than you have to if you're an opposing school. So giving Penn State another 2 months to flip momentum back here to get him on campus for that official visit, I think is going to be big for Penn State. So I think Virginia Tech could lead right now, but I think Penn State still has a quality chance there. Jeff Exiner obviously is one that we're watching out for as well there. Matthew Alland, an athlete out of Virginia, another one that we're going to be keeping a close eye on. We've seen over the last few weeks a lot of their middle board, low board type guys come off the board. Alachio Brooks committed to Alabama. Shane DeGraffenray.
Yeah, sorry, that's correct.
Committed to Rutgers. They've had a few. Desi Jones committed to Ohio State. So they've had a couple guys that have come off the board the last few weeks, but still plenty of options out there. Obviously, have Lyric Samuel committed. But other guys to watch out for: Nashawn Montgomery.
He'll be on campus June 21st, I think.
Yep. Yeah. They're still in it for guys like him. Jeff Exiner, like we said. Yeah,
Jeff Exiner. Corey Sims will be on campus later this month as well.
Philip Bell will be on campus. There's still a handful of wide receivers there strongly in the recruitment for here. Adrian Wilson out of Texas committed to Arizona State. I think that's his 3rd commitment now. That one's not over. And we'll see what they can do with Taz Williams. I know Taz Williams is high on Pittsburgh right now among some other schools, so perhaps they can get into that one a little bit more as well.
Yeah. Moving on a little bit, tight end. We have a future cast for Andrew Olish still in. I don't know how confident we are in that, but he will be on campus June 14th, and that seems to be the commitment weekend as well. Yeah. As they're already hosting 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9 other commitments will be on campus that weekend.
And that is obviously all planned to be that way, to get a top guy on campus with all those commits. Still feel confident about the Olish future cast, just not as confident as I was maybe in February. He's picked up a lot of offers. He's seen a lot of schools. This is not a Penn State runaway recruitment anymore. This is one that Penn State will have to 2-degree fight for. Not even 2-degree, legitimately fight for. to land.
Yeah.
Outside of Olish, Brody Lennon, I think, is a name to really watch at tight end going forward as well. Another position that's seen a couple guys come off the board. Hayden Bradley committed to Mississippi this past weekend. Luca Gilbert committed to Miami earlier this month. Nate Roberts committed to Ohio State this month. So a couple guys have come off the board that position. But right now, I think it's Olish and Brody Lennon as the top two at the position.
They also will be hosting Lincoln Cure on May 31st, so that's another name to keep an eye on.
Yeah,
Kansas. I don't
yeah.
know where he kind of slots in among those three, but
He was. I mean, he's definitely at the top of the board, but just haven't heard much positive momentum for Penn State recently that gives me any confidence of saying that they're in the race to the degree that they are hosting him for an official visit. But I have my doubts it's going to be anything more than just that visit.
That's fair. He did come to campus back in September last year. I know he's got future casts already in for him for Kansas State.
Yeah,
would probably make sense if he stays there. I know there's some talk that Oregon might be involved pretty heavily too. So
yeah,
whenever they're involved, it's all. I don't have any dollar bills on me right now, but you kind of get the hint there.
right.
Moving on from that, offensive line, 3 guys committed. I'm assuming they're only going to go 4. But that's a pure guess on my standpoint. But 2 tackles currently committed in Brady O'Hara and Owen Alciani, and center in Michael Troutman. Do we assume they're just going to go guard, or do you think that it's kind of open to discussion?
I think to a degree it's open for discussion. I think there's a couple guys out there that they would be willing to go to 5 to grab. Obviously, Michael Carroll is that top guy, but quite frankly, right now they're not the top team for Michael Carroll, in my opinion.
Which is crazy.
I think Michigan has really taken over in that recruitment, and Alabama has as well. So I think Penn State still has a chance, but they're going to need a really strong official visit to land Carroll. But then they're also in it for a couple other guys here. Let me bring up should have had the offer sheet, but
no, you're good. I'll just go based on the official visits that they have.
Yeah.
Malachi Goodman.
Yeah, Max Buchanan, I think, Zaire Addison is another one that I think they could legitimately land. It's just that one's gonna be tough getting him out of the South, I think.
We know they're also in with Rowan Byrne, but he's a little bit down the list, it sounds like. So, but potentially, if they strike out on a couple of these guys, he could go right up that list real quick.
Right. Malachi Goodman, I think, is a big one to watch out in New Jersey. I think you mentioned him, but definitely a big one to watch.
Yeah. Next up, defensive end. No defensive lineman committed technically, because we still think Deshaun Burnett will probably end up down there when it's all said and done.
I think it's a good chance, yeah.
Yeah, but no defensive linemen committed. Let's start with defensive end because I don't even know where the hell they're going to go for defensive tackle. But they do have a couple defensive ends scheduled for official visits, and we have one future cast actually in for one, in Randy Adarica. Actually, I don't think it's us technically. I think it's the Miami guy, but Randy Adarica will be on campus. A couple others will be on campus. Where do things kind of stand there?
Yeah, so I guess let's start with coming up at the end of the month here. Cedric Works and Max Granville both be on campus. Both 4-star prospects. Cedric Works is out of Clayton, Ohio. Has emerged the last few months. Really good prospect. I do not have a great read on his recruitment right now, I will admit. Max Granville, NFL legacy out of Texas. Penn State is a player there, but it's going to be hard to beat out. I think Texas A&M in that recruitment. Oklahoma is also in that recruitment as well. Okay. So with those, it's going to be tough. But they are hosting high 4-star Zayden Walker, another one that's going to be tough. But other guys that I do think they have a little bit more of a legitimate potential with here in the upcoming weeks and months. Jaden Woods, Randy Adarica, like you said, LeVar Arrington II, Cortez Harris, Adam Shovlin, and Jaden Lofton. All I think are legitimate potential guys.
Another name that just scheduled an official visit recently was I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. It's Ivan Kamaju at a Paint Branch down in Maryland. He's a high 3-star to start. I think he's gonna be a 4-star when it's all said and done. Kind of an under the radar kid, and not so popular recruiting ground at Paint Branch High School in Maryland. But he has a Penn State offer. He's been to campus January, I think it was. February? January. It was January.
Yeah.
He was on campus for junior day. And he doesn't have a ton of offers. I think his only Power Fives are Indiana, Maryland, Duke, Penn State, Pittsburgh, Rutgers, Vandy, Virginia Tech. West Virginia too. But mostly locals, and I think that's kind of based on the fact that he's not at a big school. I think
Yeah.
he's going to be one to keep an eye on because he'll be on campus May 31st as well. And
Yeah,
I know he has other officials to West Virginia and Tech, but I don't know if he ends up making those. To be honest with you, I think if Penn State wants him, I think they push and they get him pretty quickly. But again, it's kind of where things stand with other guys too. So we'll wait and see what happens there.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Defensive tackle. What the fuck are they doing?
Yeah, this is going to be the really interesting one, I think, going forward. Obviously, I mean, there's guys like Randy Adarica. I wonder if he projects to a defensive tackle eventually.
It's possible.
6'4", 265 already. So I think he could develop into a defensive tackle.
I think Yvonne could too, to be honest.
Yeah. They have a couple offered defensive ends that probably fit better there long term, but I mean, but on paper, it's a really big question mark, and that a lot of that's because it was a weak cycle at the position in the region. There's not many strong defensive tackles in the region this cycle that fit the Penn State mold, so they've definitely had to, go more so nationally to find their DTs, and they just haven't. I mean, they've offered obviously a handful of kids, but there's not a ton of kids you sit here right now and saying you feel, strong about and their Penn State's chances. I mean, looking at the list here, Jaquez Carter, obviously out of Florida, is one that we'll be keeping a closer eye on. I imagine he'll get an official visit scheduled at some point. Continue to go down the list. Halim Muhammad was a guy we were watching, but he committed to Syracuse. Tommy Rupley out of Massachusetts, I think, projects to a DT at the next level. They're in a good spot for him. I think as long as they continue to push. He's one of those guys that is probably in close territory to be future casted.
Yeah,
in my opinion. Sure. But I mean, even beyond that, you just don't got a ton of guys right now that really stand out, and that's where losing a guy like Trent Wilson really hurts.
Yeah, so he's Tommy Ruppy's interesting for the sole fact that he came to campus last month, I think, for one of the spring practices.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him afterwards, and he had his whole official visit schedule. It was going to go I forget the exact names, but it was Duke, I know, Northwestern, I think it was Notre Dame too. And then all of a sudden, Penn State offered following that visit, and he's like, "Yo, hold on, that changed things completely." And that kind of told me where Penn State stands with him. It's probably very high, and if they they'd probably take him right now. But I think they're going to wait and see. But I think he's a name to definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah, his official visits currently to Northwestern, Rutgers, Virginia, Duke.
Yeah, so there you go.
If those official visits stand, I guess an official visit June 21st would be the weekend.
Make a lot of sense. Yeah.
Unless he's doing some midweek OV.
True. Looking through the rest of this linebacker, they're hosting a couple, but they already have three.
They're going to take one more, in my opinion, but they're going to be very picky about who that fourth one is.
That's fair. Cornerback's an interesting one because they have Xavier Thomas right now from Pittsburgh over there. But after that, there's a lot of options. I mean, they're hosting Jameer Joseph's a top-ranked guy out of New Jersey. Brandon Finney down in Maryland. I think we have him listed receiver, but he's a cornerback for Penn State at least. Is there anyone else really I'm looking? Chris Ewald.
So cornerbacks, going just alphabetically here. You mentioned Chris Ewald. I have not got an update on Dwayne Galloway's recruitment in quite a bit, but he does an official visit, I believe, scheduled for June 21st. So Dwayne Galloway out of Columbus is one to look out for. I still think they sit in a good spot for Jameer Joseph.
Yeah, I think they're in a really good spot right there. Stanford's the one to keep an eye on there because academics are high on him. He's high on academics, I should say.
Who is Stanford's connection to the East Coast?
I'm not sure entirely who it is, but they've been doing very well in Jersey over the past couple of years. They landed 3 last year from Jersey.
Yeah, they've been doing good. Been doing good in the region in general. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York / Connecticut. They've been doing in this Mid Atlantic region. They've been doing a really good job. And now I do wonder. Part of that is that they're coming to the ACC. They're going to be playing over on the East Coast quite a bit.
Yeah, that's it's a story in its own right. But safety, ton of safeties on official visits right now, or scheduled for official visits. There's Jadon Blair, who I think we've discussed previously, whether that be Penn State or Notre Dame. Onis Kanabani, Kanoa Winston, I believe we still have a future cast in for. Aiden Monotai is coming from Hawaii. A couple of Johnsons, one's from Ohio, one's from Florida. Where do you think they kind of go with that?
Yeah, so quickly going back to cornerback, just 2 more to add. Grayson Littleton out of Wesley Chapel in Florida. Definitely one to watch. And that one right now that really stands out to me is probably Aiden West out of Maryland. 3-star guy, but it's somebody I think could definitely jump into the 4-star level. Safety, you mentioned, they're hosting quite a bit of safeties. And, I think that's one position Penn State is going to be solid at for a long time just because they continue to develop guys at that position. But Jadon Blair is the big one, obviously, that they are very high on. Blair seems pretty high on them as well. Penn State, Michigan, Notre Dame battle there. Josh Johnson out of Ohio is a name to keep an eye on going forward.
We assume they're taking 2, right?
I would say for sure. Kanoa Winston is another one. And then they also, have the kid from Hawaii, Aiden
Monotai.
Monotai.
I'm just guessing. Yeah, Monotai sounds right.
But he's going to be on campus in June for an official visit as well. So that could be something to watch. There's also in the secondary, they got, actually not a secondary guy. He's more of an offensive guy. Never mind on that one. But I'm looking at the athletes list, which guys project to the secondary here. A lot of guys who do project to secondary have committed already. But I mean, they're hosting quite a strong group of safeties and cornerbacks heading into the official visit season.
So let me ask you this: we went over everyone that was committed. We went over some of the top targets. Who do you think is the next commit for Penn State?
Next commit for Penn State.
I know we have some future casts in. It doesn't have to be one of those guys. It could be someone else completely.
Let me look at the visit schedule one more time. It's probably the easiest way to do it here. I think if all goes well with his official visit and Penn State's willing to take him, I could see that Yvonne Kamaju being
That's a good one.
Being amongst those. Malachi Goodman, I don't know his official visit schedule off the top of my head. Obviously, Penn State at the end of the month. He's got visits to Georgia, Alabama, USC, so probably not going to get him to commit for those.
Yeah, that's fair.
Lex Cyrus would make sense to a degree. We could probably take Nate Roberts off the list at this point.
I think I have already, to be honest with you. Plus, I didn't take off the official visit yet, but
and then I would say I would say Yvonne Kamaju could fit that bill pretty easily. One of the first official visits coming up at the end of the month. So I would say Kamaju or Lex Cyrus, both visiting at the end of the month. I think Penn State would take Cyrus absolutely. I'd have to get some more clarification on Kamaju, but if they're willing to take him, I could see him jumping on board quite quickly.
All right, makes sense. That's really all we got, I guess, right? Nothing else. I mean, we went pretty in depth on the whole, our first State of the Union, I should say. I got to think of a better name, but
state of the class,
State of the state,
state of the program, state of something, state of the state.
Yeah, we'll think of something.
State of the we'll figure it out. But for the class in general, absolutely. And then beyond that, it's worth noting that in the upcoming weeks, I believe May 18th or May 19th, Penn State College in general will be hosting the Elite 11 regional for quarterbacks. So there'll be quite a bit of 2025, 2026 quarterbacks on campus, even 2027 on campus that weekend. Not on campus, but in the area. Sorry, in the area. But also the All 22, which is just the same companies.
It's Nike's athletes, not their quarterbacks. It's just their athletic guys.
Yeah, it
like Luke Montgomery.
Very similar to the opening. It's very similar to an opening regional. I think it is technically a regional for the opening. So they'll have a lot of skill guys on in the area that week. I keep saying on campus because it would be shocking to see a player or two, I think, pop up on campus while they're in town.
Yeah, usually we see a lot of that stuff for the sole fact that guys just right after the camp's over, they're already kind of in State College area, so it definitely helps them out a lot. And helps Penn State out a ton because they'll just go visit right after. It's great.
And this is one of those. I mean, there was this time last year. Ethan Grugmeyer visited Penn State, committed to Penn State, and then performed at the Elite 11 the next day.
Yep. So. And still think he probably. I know he did get the Elite 11 invite. I feel like he should have went further a little bit, but it is what it is. What are you gonna do? That's why we'll probably see him. I'm sure. I wonder if Beckham Kritzer would come up for that. Go participate in this one.
Yeah, that would be interesting. We'll have to hit him up and ask him for sure.
That'd be something to keep an eye on, just because Grunkmeyer made the trip over, and obviously Ohio's a lot closer than Florida.
Yeah,
but Beckham Kritzer also has a ton of miles racked up because he's moved 4 times.
And he's already visited a ton as well.
Yeah, so be something to monitor. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of Penn State guys at the All 22, at the Elite 11. This upcoming weekend, Under Armour camp in New Jersey, I'll be there. Expecting DJ McClary there, expecting a couple other local guys to make the trip over because I think it's their only Northeast one. So I'll be reporting on that. We'll have everything on the message boards, Lions Den forum. But other than that, I think that's really it. Any final thoughts before we sign off today?
No, I think that's about it. But this is the State College is the only regional in the Northeast. The closest they came outside of State College was Columbus, Ohio, just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many people show up, but everyone wants the free Nike gear and everyone wants to be invited to the opening. So I get it. Makes sense. All right. But for me and Dylan, that's another edition of the Penn State 365 podcast. Signing off.